In the past and in the present, men have succumbed to the powerful seduction of the mass media that sings to them like the mermaids who would have lured Ulysses onto the rocks. Men's dependence on the media, like a drug addiction, lets them avoid speaking, avoid inhabiting their bodies, avoid entering into relationships. The pseudo-independence of men is really no more than a subtle form of self-absorption. Actually, we can't put all the blame on our fathers, since they themselves are victims of history. Obviously, we are far removed today from the ecological niche that allowed young males of our species regular access to their fathers in order to observe how the fathers went about things. Contemporary men, in fact, find few occasions to experience or actualize their masculine potential in the presence of their fathers. 10+ powerful lessons from the book Absent Fathers, Lost Sons. Number 1. The term absent fathers in the title of this book is intended to have a rather broad meaning. It refers to both the psychological and the physical absence of fathers and implies both spiritual and emotional absence. It also suggests the notion of fathers who, although physically present, behave in ways that are unacceptable. Authoritarian fathers, for example, are oppressive and jealous of their sons' talents and smother their sons' attempts at creativity or self-affirmation. Alcoholic fathers' emotional instability keeps their sons in a permanent state of insecurity. Lost sons is used to underscore the lack of emotional connections between fathers and sons. It is not so much that the sons are lost in any absolute sense, but rather that they have been lost to the fathers they are unconsciously looking for. This lack of attention from the father results in the son's inability to identify with his father as a means of establishing his own masculine identity. Similarly, a son deprived of the confirmation and security that might have been provided by his father's presence is unable to advance to adulthood. In cases where the father is violent, weak, or continually drunk, the son may find him so repugnant that he will absolutely refuse to identify with the masculine. Not only will he hold his father in contempt, but he will also try not to resemble his father in any way whatsoever. Number 2. The father's silence dictates the fragility of the son's sexual identity. We know that a personality is constituted and differentiated through a series of identifications. Identification is defined as a psychological process in which a subject assimilates an aspect, a property, or a characteristic of another and transforms himself, totally or partially, on the basis of this model. In order to form your own identity, you must identify with someone else. You must structure yourself by incorporating someone else into yourself, by integrating him through imitation. Number 3. A child's first object relation, his or her first identification, is with the mother. In order to become a man, however, the young male must proceed from this primary identification with the mother to an identification with the father. This transfer of identification is such a delicate and hazardous process that in tribal societies, it is underscored by rites of initiation designed to help the adolescent boy begin his life as an adult man. The initiation of adolescent males is one of the most highly structured and widespread rituals in the world. Rituals for adolescent girls, although they do exist, are not universal and are often less elaborate. Actually, as far as sexual identity is concerned, we might say that women are, while men have to be made. The onset of menstruation, which signals the adolescent girl's ability to have children, establishes her feminine identity and provides, as it were, a natural initiation through which she moves from girlhood to womanhood. For men, however, nature has to be supplemented by an educational process in order to transfer the primary identification away from the mother. Initiation rites are intended to mark a boy's official separation from his mother and his new status as a man. Number 4. In order to evolve, a man has to identify with his mother and with his father. The father-mother-son triangle must replace the mother-son dyad. If the father is absent, however, there is no transfer of identification from the mother to the father, and the son remains imprisoned in his identification with the mother. The father's absence automatically heightens the influence of the mother, who is thus burdened with a responsibility that will become too heavy for her to bear. In these circumstances, the triangle never gets a chance to form properly. The immediate effect is that, with regard to their sexual identity, sons develop into giants with feet of clay. Number 5. Sons who have not been given adequate fathering are often faced with the following problems. In their teenage years, they experience confusion about their sexual identity and adopt feminine types of behavior. Their sense of self-esteem is unsteady. They repress their aggressivity and, consequently, their need for self-affirmation, their ambition, and their inquisitiveness. Some of them may suffer from inhibitions with regard to their sexuality. They may also exhibit learning problems. They have trouble respecting moral values and accepting responsibilities. They have little sense of duty or obligation toward others. The absence of limits also makes it difficult for them to act with authority or to respect the authority of others. Their insufficient internal structure results in a certain laxity, a lack of rigor, a general inability to organize their lives effectively. In addition, research has shown they are more likely to be homosexuals than are boys whose fathers are sufficiently present. Inadequately fathered sons are also more apt to develop psychological problems that manifest as juvenile delinquency and abuse of drugs and alcohol. All such behaviors are rooted in deep revolt against patriarchal society. This revolt mirrors to the father the consequences of his absence. Number 6. One of the major consequences of a father's absence is that his sons are deprived of their bodies. Because the body is the foundation of all identity, identity must begin to take shape with the body. The identity of the son is rooted in the body of the father. Since the mother creates the child in her body, the areas of the body he associates with her are internal ones. The areas he associates with the father are external ones. The mother, of course, enjoys a special closeness with the child when he is still in her womb, and she prolongs this relationship after the child is born. She changes the baby's diapers, cuddles him, rocks him to sleep, and sings to him. In short, with her direct access to his body, she imbues him with herself in every possible way. The father, on the other hand, often remains outside. His sperm enters the woman from the outside, and immediately after the birth he is again pushed aside. His mate clings to the baby as her own personal possession. The plan, though, had been to have the baby together as a couple. The father's remaining outside may not disturb him. Another mouth to feed may mean he has to work a little harder than before, in which case he may accept the situation. If he does not, he may find himself a frustrated, thwarted father who is kept away from his child's body by the possessiveness of his mate. In any case, as long as the child remains in the family setting, the situation will probably remain basically the same. The child will have a lot of contact with his mother and very little with his father. Number 7. A healthy ego is one that remains flexible. In fact, psychological flexibility is what defines mental health. The ego may be alternately strong or vulnerable. It may voluntarily open up to receive what is rising from the depths, and it may choose to accept what rises up, oppose it, or to negotiate some intermediate position with it. Jung insisted repeatedly on this point. The process of integrating the energy of complexes is a process of confrontation with the unconscious. Actually, confrontation may be too strong a word. The term used by Jung, Auseinandersetzung, implies the image of two people who sit down face to face in order to get to the bottom of a question, to explain what they mean, and to reach a new way of looking at things. Number 8. An individual's psychological identity is based on his sense of his own spine that provides him with support from the inside. The father's absence results in the child's lack of internal structure. This is the very essence of a negative father complex. An individual with a negative father complex does not feel himself structured from within. His ideas are confused. He has trouble setting himself goals, making choices, deciding what is good for him, and identifying his own needs. For him, everything gets mixed up. Love and reason, sexual appetites, and the simple need for affection. He sometimes has problems concentrating, he is distracted by all sorts of insignificant details, and in severe cases he has difficulty organizing his perceptions. Basically, he never feels sure about anything. Number 9. Why is it that women are so vulnerable to the charms of the seducer? To begin with, they love the intensity with which he pursues them. They are flattered by his passion and fine words, and they love all the delicate attention he showers on them. He is often able to zero in on each woman's uniqueness, that little something that other men don't seem aware of. He may discover a woman's hidden sense of humor, for example, or her taste for erotic games. He recognizes and reveals her individuality. He makes her feel feminine and beautiful. Each woman's unique, precious quality is precisely what the seducer is after. By the time he has won her over, though, and she thinks she has been accepted in the fullness of her being, he is already preparing to move on. He cherishes the memory of what he liked about her, but he is unwilling to commit himself to a relationship. So, often unwillingly, he breaks another heart or breaks up another marriage. Number 10. How can we speak of intimacy? How can we talk about it in a way that makes us more intimate with ourselves? The Oxford English Dictionary defines intimacy as close familiarity. The word intimate is derived from the Latin intimus, which means innermost. Intimacy is further defined as the state of being personally intimate. The term has connotations of familiarity, friendship, privacy, comfort, and close connection. Its opposites are externality, superficiality, coldness, and formality. Whether we desire it or fear it, intimacy intimidates us. One of the many paradoxes of inner depth, of intimacy, is we miss it when we don't have it, and yet it can become intolerable when we do have it. Number 11. A man is not a man until he has accessed his raw, untamed energy and taken pleasure in his capacity to fight and defend himself. Only then can he transform his blind rage into the power to commit himself, to handle tensions, and to make difficult decisions. A feeling of inner security also develops. It is based on his realization that whatever happens to go wrong, he can get help from his inner resources, from the basic energy of his aggression. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day.